Let's take that thought into meditation. I'm a channel, letting God's ideas flow through me today. I relax and I let go. And I can do that by closing my eyes. I can settle in the seat. If I need to shake any sillies out of my arms or legs, I can do that now so that I can just be present to the here and now moment. I relax and I let go. And I let God's ideas flow. What does it mean to be a channel for God's peace? Well, it may start with relaxing and letting go. So let's take a moment right now to see if there's any place in our bodies that we're holding on to something that is preventing us from being that channel of God's peace. So imagine, if you will, that you are an MRI machine scanning your body, starting at the top of your head and just scanning, gently scanning without judgment. Is there anything in my mind today that is preventing me from being a channel of God's peace today? As I continue to scan, is there anything in my body, in my heart, in my chest, in my stomach, anything in my body? I continue to scan. Is there anything else anywhere that might be blocking me from being God's channel of peace today? And when you have those spots, go back to the first one. That first spot, we say to it, tell me what I need to know to release this so that I can be a channel of God's peace today. And let that spot answer you. What do I need to know to release this spot to be a channel of God's peace today? And when it has answered you, thank that place and allow it to dissolve. We move on to the next place in our bodies where we notice there's some kind of obstruction to letting us be that channel of God's peace today. And we ask it, what is it that I need to know in my throat or in my heart or in my stomach, wherever that spot is? What do I need to know from you so that I can release you so that I may be a channel for God's peace today? We let that spot answer us, and we thank it. We bless it, and we release it now, so that we may be the channel of God's peace today. And anything else that we have noticed in our bodies that is preventing us from being that beautiful channel, we bless each and every one. We thank them for sharing their wisdom with us so that we can be fully present as we step into the new year. We can and choose to be and are freely embracing being that channel of God's peace. And for that we are grateful. And when you're ready, just open your eyes. Thank you. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Reverend Eileen Ramsey, licensed Unity teacher, and one of my favorite things is Metaphysical Bible. So you're going to get a lesson in Metaphysical Bible today. Of course you are. You always do when I'm up here. So today's story is about the flight to Egypt, and I'm going to try to make it short. I'm going to leave out the part about the massacre of the infants because I don't like that part. I don't think we need to rehash that part. We know that that's part of the bigger story. So we're going to do the parts around it. Now, after they had left, the wise men had just visited the Christ child, and they went a different route home to skip Herod's palace. So you'll probably remember that story. I'm not going into that one. Now, after they had left, this is Matthew chapter 2, verses 13 to 15 and 19 to 23. Now, after they had left, I've said that 3 times, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, "Get up, take the child and his mother and flee to Egypt, and remain there until I tell you, for Herod is about to search for the child and destroy him." Then Joseph got up, took the child and his mother by night, and went to Egypt, and remained there until the death of Herod. This was to fulfill what had been spoken by the Lord through the prophet, "Out of Egypt I have called my son." Skip a little part. When Herod died, an angel of the Lord suddenly appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt and said, "Get up, take the child and his mother, and go to the land of Israel, for those who were seeking the child's life are dead." Then Joseph got up, took the child and his mother, and went to the land of Israel. But when he had heard that Archelaus was ruling over Judea in the place of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. And after being warned in a dream, he went away to the district of Galilee. There he made his home in a town called Nazareth, so that what had been spoken through the prophets might be fulfilled. He will be called a Nazarene. Okay, we're familiar with that story, right? We've heard it, probably every Sunday after Christmas for your whole lives. You've heard that story, or parts of it anyway. Let me pause. Let's bring up the slide for December. So this is the last Sunday that we're saying our affirmation for our December theme of joy. So let's say it together. The joy of the Lord is a wellspring within me. Now let's think about this. The joy of the Lord is a wellspring within me. Are you feeling it? Are you feeling that wellspring of joy? All right, we got some work to do today then, right? All right, let's say it one more time with gusto. The joy of the Lord is a wellspring within me, right? Because it's there. Now, we may have covered things over it and tamped it down and stuffed it down, and we're hiding that joy because we don't think that's really who we are, but that's really who we are. We are the joy of the Lord. Can you say that? I am the joy of the Lord. I am the joy of the Lord. Yeah, I got my Baptist on today. I'm sorry. It happens. It happens. All right. So last Sunday in December, we're in that between time. Christmas just happened. We remember the Christ child. We were singing our little hearts out here on Christmas Eve and having a wonderful time remembering that we too are the Christ. We too get to remember and rebirth that consciousness in us and let that presence of God lead us rather than our personal selves leading us. We can be guided with divinity, our divine selves. And that's what Christmas was about, to rekindle that memory, to say, yes, this is who we are. This is who everyone is. I just have to remember and live from that place, right? That's what Christmas is all about. And when we remember, when we take the time, and we used to call it my sister's house, they still do package frenzy on Christmas morning, package frenzy, right? What is not to love about package frenzy? But in the package frenzy is that subtle memory of the gifts of the Magi, right? That affirmation that we are all the beloved of God, every one of us. That we are the embodiment of faith and hope and love and joy and peace. All of those affirmations we did through Advent. That's the affirmation that we get to remember. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't on Christmas morning. But that's what this season is about. That's what this Christmas is. It's that rekindling in us. And for me, this period between Christmas and the New Year is a time for me to remember to do a deep dive. Don't you hate deep dives? When you do that soul searching, was I in the silence enough? Am I living my best self? Am I being my kindest self? Am I seeing the presence of God in everyone, no matter their political affiliation? No matter, because that's a big thing for a lot of people this year. We have to really see God presence everywhere, not just here, not just there, everywhere. So it's like we're crossing a metaphoric threshold from 2024 to 2025, right? And when we step across this threshold, there's unlimited possibility for us in 2025. The one thing that we know for sure that'll happen is change, right? Change is inevitable. So I see some of you going, oh yeah, change, a lot of change. I'll tell you what, compared to 2023, 2024 for me was a cakewalk. 2023 was a very difficult year emotionally, physically, and so on and so forth. 2024 is pretty simple. Jim and I decided we were going to go have fun. It's so much so that he's a cruise consultant now. So he's looking at all these deals. Let's go on this cruise. Let's go on this cruise. Honey, okay, let's stay home today. Anyway, during this time, I like to pull out some books. My favorite one, because it was so life-changing for me and in a point in my life where I was down emotionally, physically, just, it's like, nobody likes me, everybody hates me, why don't I go eat worms, right? That's how bad it was. And that book is Finding Yourself in Transition by Robert Brummett. So I'm sure that most of you, many of you have read this book. It is a delight. This book is just wonderful. The next book that I like to pull out is Hell in the Hallway, Light at the Door, and that's by Reverend Ellen Davenport, How to Move Gracefully Through Change into Renewed and Abundant Life, right? Hell in the hallway, light at the door, right? Her mother used to say that, and she doesn't know where her mother got the saying, but it was, it was a saying like, a change has happened and you're in the hallway, and, it could be hell in there, but, not it. We've heard there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and we hope that it's not an oncoming train, right? You've heard that before. But hers is light at the door. It's the idea of crossing a threshold. And then the other, I don't know if you can see this, it's in my Kindle. I should have brought my bigger Kindle. It's called Trusting Change. And if I can just get the cover up, I'm in the middle of reading it. It's called Trusting Change, Finding Our Way Through Personal and Global Transformation. And this one, I don't know if you can see it, the little orange background on it. The author is Karen Herring, and I like her. She's a Unitarian Universalist minister, so she gives us a different perspective. We're familiar with the unity perspective on life, and she gives us, just a little different one. So what I like about all of these three books in particular, they have a similar theme. Something has happened. You're adjusting to something that has happened. You haven't gotten into the new way of being yet, but we're still in this place of adjustment. So Brummett calls this place of adjustment the void. So he has ending, the void, and the new beginning. Ellen Davenport has the door has closed. You're in a hallway. You might be in many intersecting hallways, many things going on, but you haven't crossed the threshold into the newness yet. You may not be ready to cross into the threshold of the newness yet, or into the new beginning. And then Karen Herring calls this place of adjustment imaginal goo. Now, she gets this idea from the monarch in its metamorphosis. So I don't know if you guys know this, but the monarch butterfly sheds its skin 4 times. I didn't know this about monarch butterflies, so of course I had to look it up. The skin is actually an exoskeleton, and the monarch butterfly grows and hits the limits of its skin, its exoskeleton, and it bursts through. So there's a new exoskeleton helping the monarch caterpillar burst through its old skin. Now, what a metaphor for our lives, right? Have you ever felt like something was going on and you were just bursting through your skin? Okay, none of you have, but I have. I've been in those places. You just want to scream, do that primal scream or something. I saw a baby do that on Christmas Eve. She was as happy as she could be, but man, she had to do a primal scream. She's growing and she's exploring. And anyway, I digress. Exoskeleton, 4 of them. The 5th one for the caterpillar is the chrysalis. So when this 5th skin breaks through the 4th skin, it's the chrysalis for the caterpillar to transform into the butterfly, right? But the cells that cause that to happen are called imaginal cells. And if you were a researcher and were really curious about what goes on inside that chrysalis and you opened it up, it looks like goo. So the author says, this is imaginal goo. Now, the part about the void, the hallway, and the imaginal goo is that infinite possibility exists there for us. It is a place, a state of mind, if you will, where we can do a deep dive to examine where we were, what happened, where we are now. In this moment, I am safe, and it is safe for me to look within before I take my next step. It is my Egypt, if you will, where I can wait, I can do my self-examination, but I can listen. Wait on the Lord is one of those phrases in the Bible that means pay attention for your next instruction, right? So Joseph, the fun thing about this story, I love this story. I love all of them, but this one in particular, because Joseph is asleep when the angel gives him direction, right? What does that mean? His conscious mind was gone. He couldn't argue with the instruction, right? It was so clear. Get up, take the child and his mother, and get out of town. I mean, all right, if somebody knocked on your door and said, get up, get out of town, what would you do? What? I got to pack, I have a job, all the arguments, all of why it's impossible to do this thing that this angel, messenger of God, told you to do. But his conscious mind was not in a place to argue. He was in a dream state. So he did as he was instructed and went to Egypt and stayed there until he got word that Herod died. This is where metaphysical Bible interpretation gets interesting, because Joseph's name means, in Hebrew, one who will be increased progressively to perfection. Now, that is true for each one of us because in this story, we are all Joseph. We are each one who will be increased progressively to perfection. Now, think about that with the caterpillar. The caterpillar continues to be increased. They have to go through 4 exoskeletons before the 5th one is formed as a chrysalis so that they can transform into that butterfly. An interesting thing about those caterpillars and butterflies is that they retain their memory. I don't know how researchers figured that out, but the memory of the caterpillar exists in the butterfly. Fascinating process. We too are increased progressively to perfection, whether we realize that or not. That's why we're here, to take these deep dives within, to examine, are we being our best selves? Are we being that inner Christ that I know we are because we just got reminded about it at Christmas, right? Am I being the highest and best being I can see, I can be, I can feel, I can love, right? So we have the Herod. You guys know that Herod was not a benevolent ruler, right? He was horrible. He was vindictive, vengeful. He would kill, smite, whatever. He was just the worst tyrannical ruler you could ever imagine. That was Herod on the throne. Jews hated him, right? But what do? He's in charge. But because we're looking at this metaphysically, Herod, as an aspect of ourselves, is that part of us that is unkindness or vengeance or pettiness that either comes toward us or that we have out toward someone who is not us, not our best friend. You know, it's like, I don't know, I have opinions about things, and sometimes I really have to say, show me the good in this person because I can't see it, right? The thought that precedes that one is usually, geez, what is wrong with them? Right? I know I'm the only one. That's why I'm up here sharing my soul with you today, because I'm the only one that has those thoughts. But those are Herod thoughts if we're looking at the story metaphysically, and each of the characters are an aspect of ourselves. So when we're guided by the angels, right? The messengers of God, divine ideas, however you want to interpret it metaphysically, we can't do it with our conscious mind. We can't get that guidance with our conscious mind. Our conscious mind has to step aside because our conscious mind tends to be guided by our Herod self. You know, the pettiness of life, the vengefulness, you know, it's like, well, I hope they get their comeuppance. You know, well, come on. Why is that up to me to decide they're going to get judgment? You know, it's not my job to judge somebody else, right? Although I'd love to, because I know how everybody should live and what's right for every other person on earth. And then I need to look at myself. That's why self-examination is important, because how is my life? How am I doing? You know, who died and made me God, right? Well, okay, so that's a saying, who died and made me God, right? But it's true, I am. I just forget to let that part of me lead most of the time. So, but we're here between Christmas and New Year, so we can remember to let that God nature lead as opposed to the Herod nature. And to get these divine ideas through, I have to let my conscious mind rest. And that's the point of Joseph sleeping. So we're guided by the angels, but this waiting on the Lord in Egypt, waiting for further instruction from the angel in Egypt, is our version of that imaginal goo. The silence that we talk about, the silence that Fillmore says is the bridge to our communion with divine mind, the silence, that's our version of the imaginal goo. So if we can take time in imaginal goo, where there is only potential of our one who will be increased progressively to perfection, if I can spend that time there and let that metamorphosis happen in me, then I can break out of my chrysalis, my hardened thinking, my harried thoughts, into this life, a new person. I'm not the same as I went into the imaginal goo chrysalis. I'm not the same person when I come out of the silence as the one that went in. And that's why this time is so important. Between Christmas and the New Year, we're about to write our little things on a piece of paper and drop it in the fire on New Year's Eve at the burning bowl ceremony, right? Are you guys all familiar with burning bowl? Okay, now honestly, because I might have one or two, is what you're going to put on that paper the same thing that you had on the paper last year? Let it go. Let it go. Don't bring it back and play with it again because it's comfortable. Let that imaginal goo take over and progress you to that beautiful winged creature that you were born to be. You were born to fly. So, okay, enough preaching. I do have a joke. So this pastor, it's a pastor joke. Pastor's walking down the street and he sees this little tiny boy at a door trying to ring the doorbell. But he's tiny and he can't reach it, but he keeps jumping up and he's trying to hit that doorbell, trying to make it work. So the pastor's watching this for a minute, and then he walks over to the door and he rings the doorbell for the little kid. And he drops down next to him and he says, "Well, my little man, what now?" And the little boy looks at him and says, "Run!" Isn't that good? I love that joke. I wish I could still do that as a small child. Ring that doorbell and off you go. All right. Talk about imaginal goo. I love that story. Okay. So I'm going to finish with 5 dangerous prayers from Ellen Davenport's book, Hell in the Hallway, Light at the Door. And they are very dangerous prayers because if you take them into the imaginal goo with you and you spend time with them, they will change your life. So just be ready, okay? I'll say them twice. The first one is, reveal to me what needs to be revealed and heal in me what needs to be healed. I'll say it again. We may be familiar with this. Reveal to me what needs to be revealed and heal in me what needs to be healed. Pretty good, huh? Are we ready to look at that? Are we ready to do that deep dive? The second one, and this one is for Jennifer. Lead me where you need me and speak to me in ways I cannot possibly misunderstand. Pretty good, huh? Because sometimes I need somebody yelling in my face for me to get the message, right? So this one is, lead me where you need me and speak to me in ways I cannot possibly misunderstand. Okay, the third one, how can I see this situation, condition, person differently? Show me the good. How can I see this situation, condition, person differently? Show me the good. The fourth one, I hold all possibilities. Our affirmation, you are the wellspring of joy. You hold all possibility. So the fourth prayer is, I hold all possibility. And the fifth one, what a joy it is to be here. Now, it's easy to say that in church, especially when I'm looking at all of your faces and how beautiful you all are, and I see God's presence in every single one of you. But think about conditions and situations, like you're standing in an airport line. waiting for TSA, and your flight's in 20 minutes, and you're still on the wrong side of TSA. What a joy it is to be here, right? You keep saying it till you mean it. What a joy it is to be here. What a joy it is to be here in this day, in this time, and with you. So we're leaving the adventures of 2024 behind us, right? We don't know what's going to happen in 2025 yet. We're not there yet, right? But what a joy it is to step across that threshold as we sprout our wings and fly in our next best expression of ourselves. Well, God bless you, and have a lovely Happy New Year. All right? All right. Well, thank you. Well, let's move into our time of giving, and we'll say our offering blessing together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, that this is so.